Hello ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the English News Edition brought to you live from RTD channel. The headlines for tonight are: at the Presidential Palace, high-level meetings continue, and today the social development policies was at the center of discussions. And on the international scene concerning Syria, Turkey to host a tripartite summit. Let's get into the details now. The head of state, Ismail Margele, led today a new edition of the series started last week, a high-level walk with the main public officials of our country. Today was focused on the analysis of the concept and paradigm that drive our social development policy, access for all to basic social services, education, health, solidarity assistance to the disabled persons was the topics of the day. A series of working meetings conducted by the President of the Republic is part of a more visible will of the Djibouti state, which wishes to compel the highest officials of our country to the greater duty of resolve in their respective missions, present as it is today at each of the high-level meetings conducted these days by the head of state. The Djiboutian Prime Minister Abdulkader Mohamed has the essential role of ensuring the rapid execution of the charges by the department and to access their respective ability to subscribe to an efficient pace of collaboration. Let's note the participation of the State Secretary for Social Affairs, Mrs. Muna Osman Aden. The issue on the agenda today was related to the social. The head of state, Ismail Margele, highlighted the social sector will have to be at the service of the average Djiboutian citizens and to be inclusive. Details with the President.
Aujourd'hui, nous allons procéder à l'analyse des concepts.
Today we will proceed to analyze the concepts that drive our social development policy. Access for all to the basic social services, education, health, solidarity, assistance to the disabled will be the topics of the day. We are going after process to an inventory of the achievements made in social matters. We will analyze the persistent social challenges as well as their causes and consequences. We will evaluate public policies, tools, instruments, and their actors. The overall purpose of these analysis is to allow us to analyze whether there are dysfunctions and the obstacle to better program policies and development projects. Our strategy will have to be global, coherent, but also local. It will have to guarantee both social inclusion and strong social cohesion. Our social development policy must have a vision and a human aspect of the future for our country. Several topics have already been analyzed, which also include social aspects.
And on the occasion of the 40th anniversary of the establishment of diplomatic relation between the Republic of Djibouti and the Russian Federation, the Minister of Foreign Affairs and International Cooperation, Mohammad Ali Yusuf, and his Russian counterpart of Foreign Affairs, Sergei Lavrov, exchanged a congratulation message. In their message, the two ministers recalled the longevity of relation and the vitality of cooperation between our countries, which has proved to be dense and fruitful in fields as diverse as higher education, air transport, as well as culture. They play to further strengthen bilateral relations between our two countries. And still with the national news, the 6th East African Sub-Regional Conference on strengthening the fight against terrorism opened this morning in Kempinski Palace Hotel. This meeting brought together prosecutors from countries of the sub-region and magistrate. The Republic of Djibouti hosted a major regional meeting this morning. This is the 6th regional conference on strengthening the fight against terrorism and organized crime in East Africa. The meeting has been organized in partnership with the International Association of Prosecutors by the judicial authorities of the Republic of Djibouti. This conference was chaired by the Minister of the Interior, Hassan Mohamed Omar, and saw the participation of the Acting Director of the Police, Colonel Abdurrahman Mohamed Kahin, representative of international organizations participated in the opening of this seminar. The objective of this regional conference is to strengthen the collaboration between all the services in charge of the fight against terrorism and organized transnational crime, because terrorism has become a global scourge, which is why this meeting consists in finding the ways and means to fight against this scourge. And under the chairmanship of the MP Shamaki Musa Arre, the Finance, General Economic and Planning Committee met in committee room number 2 of the National Assembly. The agenda of the meeting focused on the examination as an urgent procedures of the draft law amending the General Tax Code of the Republic of Djibouti. The government was represented by the Budget Minister, Bode Ahmed Roble, accompanied by his principal collaborators, including the Secretary General Simon Mabrutu, as well as the Director General of Taxes. The session also saw the participation of all the members of this commission. This bill, submitted for the approval of the commissioners, was intended to amend certain articles, including Section 499, 500, and 501 of the General Tax Code. This new measure is part of the tax reform initiated in recent years by the head of state Ismail Margili. As a result, these new provisions aim to reduce registration fees relating to real estate transfers, as well as a tax exemption or exemption from the first acquisition of bare land. These measures will undoubtedly improve the business climate in the Republic of Djibouti. And after a debate and fruitful exchange, the commissioners gave a favorable opinion that this text will be submitted to the appreciation of their colleague at the next plenary session of the National Assembly. Another news, the industrial as well commercial school has today hosted the ceremony of signature of a memorandum of understanding between the Secretary General of the Ministry of National Education as well Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohammed Abdullah Mahyoub, and the President of the University, Tianjin Professional for Railway Techniques, and Mr. Ohu Zongyu. The ceremony has been held in the presence of officials and responsible for technical education, vocational training, as well leaders from the Tianjin Technical and Professional University. It must be recalled that this ceremony is following the meeting between the Minister of National Education and Vocational Training, Mustafa Mohammed Mahmoud, and the chairman of the Tianjin Railway Technical Vocational College, Yu Zongwu. The opportunity for the Chinese Minister and universities to agree on a partnership to strengthen cooperation in the field of expertise in training in the railway transport sector. The ceremony of signature was the opportunity for the Secretary General and the main 4 executives to offer a guided visit to the Chinese university delegation in the different workshops and infrastructure of the industrial as well commercial school known as LICA. The Minister of Urban Planning, Environment as well Housing, Musa Mohammed Ahmed, participated yesterday in Mali in a conference entitled Second Structure Dialogue with Africa Green Climate Fund. The Minister is accompanied by Dina Abdullah Omar, Secretary General of the Ministry of Housing, and by Ibrahim Mohammed Hassan, Senior Technical Advisor to the Ministry of Economy and Finance. On the occasion of this conference, the Minister of Housing met with the President of Mali, Ibrahim Boubacar Keita, who transmitted his fraternal greetings to our President of the Republic, Ismail Omar Guelleh. This conference is placed under the high patronage of the President of the Republic of Mali, Ibrahim Boubacar Keita. The main objective of this conference is to facilitate the exchange and transfer of knowledge between African countries and different stakeholders in order to improve the quality of the programming process and deliver tangible results, including a portfolio of projects high quality with short, medium, as well long-term goals. Let's come back to the country's news now. A fruitful conference on the reform for a better business environment was held this morning at the Sheraton Hotel in Djibouti under the Ministry of the Presidency for Investment. This first day was about job creation, but there was the amendment of some articles of the Code of Commerce and on the property security revision of the law on the protection of minority shareholders, which was the major reform introduced in 2017, establishment of a system of empowerment of the Court of First Instance of Djibouti in the civil as well commercial jurisdiction. This system will allow the court to be more efficient by reducing the delay of deferment. The panel discussion was chaired by the Minister of Commerce, Hassan Muhammad Arbahim, and was attended by the Secretary General of the Ministry of Investment, Abdi Ilmi Ashkir, and the Secretary General of the Ministry of Commerce, Ali Daoud. Several CEOs as well lawyers also took part at this conference. This conference debate will continue for several days in the same place. The Secretary of State for Youth and Sport, Hassan Mohammed Kamil, went to the military hospital accompanied by his communications advisor, Medina Salah Ali, and the director of the National Sports Training Institute, Saeed Ali Hussein. This visit, which comes after the official launch of the 11th Games of the Indian Ocean, was aimed at enabling the head of youth and therefore of these 11th Games to see for themselves the quality of care of this important structure which was retained in the framework of these Games. He was therefore welcomed by a large delegation composed of the General of the Army Forces, Ali Hassan, the Director of the Hospital, the Colonel Dr. Median, the Head of the Cabinet, Sadiq Bashir, as well the Medical Director, Colonel Dr. Nashat Fathi. And during the meeting, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport was able to explain the purpose and expectation of this meeting. Colonel Dr. Median spoke of the measures taken to date in the preparation for the Games and measures the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport that his staff and himself were mobilized for optimal sanitation as well of participants. And after the meeting, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport made a different services visit with a wide range of state-of-the-art equipment. At the end of this visit, the Secretary of State for Youth and Sport first expressed his thanks to his defense colleague and then to the General of the Army Forces and Chief of Staff for these valuable collaborations. General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, Chief of General Staff of the Army Forces, received yesterday, Tuesday, April 3, 2018, in his office at the General Staff, a large delegation of French and Chinese forces operating in Djibouti. This delegation, led by Army Major General General Thierry Duconoy, commander of France's forces, and the captain of Upper vessel Liang Yuang. They were surrounded by their close collaborators. And still with the national news, the Secretary General of the Ministry of the Interior, Abdul Qadir Umar, led the work of the first meeting of the High Steering Committee in the implementation of the Global Framework for Action for Refugees. The meeting was attended by UNRWA's Executive Secretary Hussein Hassan Darar, UNDP resident representative, as well a UN System Coordinator Barbara Manzi, as well UNHCR representative Abdullah Bari, and representative of the UN System International Organization, as well as development partners. The agenda of the meeting was rather busy on the agenda to review and validation of the terms of reference of the steering committee and the review of the priorities of the National Action Plan in the first half of 2018. More generally, it was also a question of studying the steps to follow before the next meeting of the steering committee, including the popularization of the law and decrees, the organization of workshops with the Chamber of Commerce to educate economic operators, among others. The Secretary General of the Ministry of the Interior stressed the technical nature of this meeting, which reflects the will of the government to follow the Nairobi Declaration on the search for durable solution to refugees and to provide a better protection and assistance for settled refugees in Djibouti. And as part of the fight against illegal immigration, in the morning of April 2nd, at 8 a.m., the gendarmes of the mobile group station at Lakhazal have again carried out a weekend operation in the Rahisa sector, and during this operation, the gendarmes arrested 112 migrants, including 14 women, all from Ethiopian origin and wishing to go to the Gulf countries. These migrants receive humanitarian as well assistance in water and food from the gendarmerie, and at the end they were renewed today at the border of Galilee with the royal wings of the gendarmerie. In the obituary file to report the deaths of 2 persons, we have learned with sadness the deaths of the late Musa Roble Gille, maternal uncle of Khadija Abdullahi, known as Balbalaf, operator at the RTD, died last night in Djibouti. The deceased leaves behind him 7 children and 22 small children. May the Almighty welcome him in its eternal paradise. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raj'un. And following the deaths of the late Ali Bokorre Hassan this morning, the prefect of the Dakhil region, Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, the president of the regional council, the ministers and all the MPs of the region of Dakhil addressed their heartfelt condolences to the family of the deceased, his relative and all the customary chief of the region. The late Ali Bokorre Hassan, brother of the former chief of staff of the National Gendarmerie, the deceased Colonel Abdi Bokorre Hassan, was born in 1948 in Dakhil and left behind him 12 children and 24 grandchildren. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raj'un. On the international scene, Turkey will host a trilateral meeting on Syria, gathering leaders from Turkey, Russia and Iran next week, according to Anadolu agency. The meeting, hosted by President Recep Tayyip Erdogan on Wednesday, will be attended by Russian President Vladimir Putin and Iran President Hassan Rouhani. Besides regional development and the ongoing Syrian war, the Turkish as well Iranian leaders are also expected to hold talks to discuss bilateral relations. And during the meeting, the leaders will also exchange views on regional as well international issues as well as bilateral relations. And as part of his visit, the Russian president will also attend the groundbreaking ceremony for the Akkuyu nuclear power plant that will be operational in 2023. So that's it for the news. Thanks for being with us on RTD channel.